Welcome to Comics League. I'm Jared, and today we are doing a long-anticipated room tour. That's right, today you're going to see where I make the magic. And then at a later date, Lad will do his, and then I'll upload that to the channel. So, first off, like, comment, subscribe for more great content. And also, there is an audio version of this podcast in case you guys are like driving or you need something to like occupy your time while you're like doing household chores. You can find that on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, basically anywhere you get your podcasts. It's Under Two Capes. It's essentially the same episodes that we released to say Under Two Capes, but it's an audio version. So just check that out. All right, anyway, let's get to it. So, how do I turn this around? So as we walk into the room, first off, just want to indicate that this is the desk that I used to be recording Under Two Capes on. I changed it because of some because the desk I use now is much more like sizable for my role. Just gonna close the door. So first I want to direct attention to this dope Thanos statue. I love this thing. This thing's called from Avengers Infinity War. I forget who manufactured it, but it just looks so cool. You can definitely see Josh Brolin in that face. It's got the gauntlet with all of the jewels. I won't say jewels, but whatever. Then over here also, what I did was I got a bunch of posters and I put a piece of glass on top of them on the desk. So you have like the Iron Man poster that you got from the Avengers game, the 3 Joker cards that you got if you went to a comic book shop when 3 Jokers was coming out. So I got those. I have this McFarlane Darkseid action figure that I just have on there because I like to have Darkseid and Thanos on one desk. I have this Eagle Moss Batman figurine I got from the from the DC chess pieces. I also got the Batwing lamp. It's a little dusty, but it's super cool to have on the desk. As we move this way, first we have some art pieces that I'm gonna hang up on the wall. This is gonna be basically an art wall at some point. It's gonna have like all my comic book art and everything on there. As we move around here, we see I have the Titanfall 1 statue that came with the Titanfall Collector's Edition. This thing is really big and it lights up, and then if you press the button, the lights actually change. Hang on, I'm trying to find the actual button. I think that's really cool. Now getting to the desk, I'm going to do the desk and then I'll do the comic books. So first I have a dual monitor set up because it helps me, because occasionally on this one I'll have like my Twitter, email, or actually on this one I actually have these Zoom calls for the podcast and the live streams because I have the camera up there. Over there is where I have like my emails open or like my Twitter in case like anyone wants to get in touch with me, or like anything big happens like Snyderverse being restoring on Twitter so we can react to it in real time. Just gonna move my water bottle. Next we have the Superman Snyder Cut Funko Pop. Love that thing. I got a little Pieta statue. Then we have I think this is Eagle Moss Superman, Wonder Woman Funko Pop, a Wonder Woman statue, Astro gaming headset that I just use for a podcast now because they're better quality than my Beats. And then we have a Blue Yeti microphone I recently upgraded and it's fantastic. Then we have a Desaad Funko Pop, Darkseid. We have Joker, the Joker statue from Eagle Moss. We have the Hulk bobblehead from the Avengers game. Then we also have Batman. This is the Rebirth Batman. Also here, this is a recent addition, this desk mat. Let me move my laptop. It lights up, it has all these different colors, and it's Jason Fabok's artwork from Justice League versus the Suicide Squad. I thought it would look really cool on this desk because you guys know how much of a Jason Fabok fan I am. I'm just gonna put this back to red. I like having red. So that's the desk. Now for the shelves, and I'm gonna go this way and this way. So first off, we have sci-fi art books from like Halo and Mass Effect and Call of Duty and stuff. Then I have my Politics of Comic Books, and I used these when I wrote a paper talking about the politics of comic books, obviously. and it ended up being 50 pages, and it was like a really fun project. Also in the background, I have my Triton hanging up. I figured this would be a good place to put it. Then I have this bottle opener I got. This Florida Atlantic University bobblehead that I got on Military Appreciation Night. This active camo Master Chief. I have this Lego Batman head that Lad got me for Christmas once. I have the heads from my Marvel Legends over there. I have all my Warhammer books here. Max, you're watching this. I know you like Warhammer, I do too. And then I have some Greek myth books. I have the boxes for the Funko Pops, some Black Rifle coffee patches, the best coffee company in the world. I have the Atlanta Braves World Series trophy, because I'm a huge Braves fan. I grew up on them. Then I have my little Catholic faith shelf. These cards. Then I have my Star Wars shelf. So I have this dope Mandalorian Din Djarin bust. It's one of the coolest things I think I have in my office, and it's one of my favorite collectibles I have. Then I have the Darth Revan Star Wars The Black Series action figure, which I think is like the coolest, because you guys know I'm a big fan of Darth Revan, so I was going to give you guys a zoom in. Then the more disappointing die-cast Captain Phasma action figure, which I like. The die-cast figures are pretty cool. And we're going to go to the Marvel area. I have Captain America from Captain America 1. I have Thor, and then against him is Star-Lord if T'Challa if he were Star-Lord. So I really am appreciative of that action figure. I got that for me for this year for Christmas, for my birthday. It's really cool. I have Icarus from the Eternals, Black Bolt. Again, the parts from them are behind. Kamala Khan I got because I'm a subscriber to Marvel's little comic book streaming service. So they send you like a fan kit that has like action figures and comics and stuff. Black Widow from the movie in her white outfit, which I think actually looks really cool on her. I have Cersei from the Eternals. The Punisher if he had the War Machine armor, which I really like. Grey She-Hulk, which I'm indifferent about in terms of comics. Thor, and I like how he came with that version of his hand, because you can swap out his hand, that has the swinging hammer. Next, I have what I call the shelf of Iron Man. I have the classic Marvel Legends Tony Stark Mark 1 armor. The Mark 6 from Iron Man 2 with a awesome base. The Mark 3 from Iron Man 1, the Mark 1 from Iron Man 1, and then the Thor Buster armor that actually came with a comic too. Then I have Ghost Rider from the movie, the Destroyer, the Human Torch. Then I have all my Star Wars lore books, which is like Star Wars propaganda books, the Star Wars like Ultimate book, the visual dictionary for Episode 9, this is actually a really cool one. It's Star Wars military history. It's really dope. Then I have the Star Trek Encyclopedia set, Star Wars Encyclopedia set. This is now not canon because the time I got this, it was still canon for Disney. Then I have the frames, which are basically the film stills from all of the Star Wars movies, from 1 to 6. Anyway, then I have my art books, which is like Suicide Squad concept art book, Justice League, Elysium, Spider-Verse, District 9, Pacific Rim, Halo. I did the Halo one on the show. These are my comic drawing books. Then I have like a loose Christian Bale Batman figure, some Hero Clicks, Justice League, Steel from Justice League Unlimited. I love those. I have some decals. Then we get to my Snyder Cut little shrine thing here. I have Steppenwolf, the infinitely cooler Steppenwolf, which I just love. McFarlane did a fantastic job with like all the spikes on his armor and the facial details. It just looks so cool. Then I have the DVD of the Snyder Cut on a little base, so it's always on frame. Then I have, so this cup, Cinemark gave this out the day that Justice League came out, and this is the theatrical cut, unfortunately, but I just kept that as a nice memory of when I saw the inferior Justice League cut. But anyway, then I have the McFarlane Cyborg, which I just, these McFarlane figures never cease to like blow me away. And you guys can drop in the comments if you guys have any cool McFarlane action figures and which one's your favorite. But I just love how he has the Cyborg, the red on his chest, the arm cannon. He actually has a normal fist arm right like that, but I swapped it out for the cannon because I think that's dope. Then we have Aquaman with the beard and long hair, the Justice League suit, his mother's trident, and that is also why I got that trident, because actually this trident, I'll talk about this for a second. Yes, it's a one-to-one replica, but this is actually the one from the 2017 version, because that was the only way I could get the Snyder Cut trident, because it's pretty much the same in the Whedon and Snyder Cut. So I was like, okay, I'll just get this. Then we have the Flash, and the cool thing about the Flash figure, let me move his little card, is that he has these lightning like attachments that you can put on him. Thing is that they're really hard to stay on, so I just figured out some way to like fandangle them so they stay there. But again, look at that detail on the Flash. Even Aquaman too looks dope. Then we go to Superman, and once again, it's the black suit Superman. I love the detail on the Kryptonian suit. It just looks so, it looks like the actual suit from the movie. Then you have the card there. Then I have, was probably my favorite bat suit, the tactical bat suit. I just love the Ben Affleck tactical bat suit. It looks like it looks like Batman. It looks like Batman's going to war, and I guess that's the idea. Then I have the Release the Snyder Cut book by Sean O'Connell, another one. So basically these three shelves are like the shrine to the movie that started this YouTube channel, because as you guys know, I started this channel because the Snyder Cut was announced, so I just really wanted to be able to talk about this stuff more. Then I have the new 52 DC Direct Action figures. I have the entire Justice League, pretty much. I have Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Hal Jordan, the old version of Aquaman, Cyborg, and Martian Manhunter. Martian Manhunter I actually got at Comic-Con separately, so this is actually like the first time I have him on a shelf with the entire league, so that's actually really cool. Next, now we're getting to the actual comics section of my shelf. So I'm gonna start with the Marvel shelf. First, I have the Amazing Spider-Man. Like, they released these books that have like the first couple of issues of Spider-Man, like the first one. So that these Mighty Marvel Masterworks, which has like the old Stan Lee and Steve Ditko Spider-Man. I have Mark Grunwald's Squadron Supreme Omnibus, which is like, it's essentially Marvel Justice League, and it's actually really, really good. I have The Punisher by Carl Potts and Mike Barron with art by Jim Lee. I have Jeff Johns' Avengers, which I really like. And then you guys know I'm a big fan of Ed Brubaker, so I have the Winter Soldier storyline. And I have Ultimate Captain America, the Winter Soldier, because they did a small mini-series centered around Bucky Barnes after his Captain America tenure. Then I have Squadron Supreme by J. Michael Straczynski and Gary Frank. This is like another version of the Squadron Supreme. Then I have this book that's like the annuals from the Ultimate Comics, which is like all the like interlude chapters for the Ultimate Comics. I have a Black Rifle coffee coin there. I have an Avengers pin there too. But then I also have Iron Man Extremis, which is like the basis behind, I believe, Iron Man 3 with the Extremis. I have Civil War, Captain America Prisoner of War, which I believe was around the time that Bucky Barnes was Captain America. It's, again, Ed Brubaker. I have Eternals by Neil Gaiman and John Romita Jr. I got that because I wanted to learn more about the Eternals. They're still underwhelming. I have Thor by J. Michael Straczynski and Olivier Coipel. Really good Thor run. Then Siege. You guys know this. Siege is probably one of my favorite Marvel events of all time. We covered it on the podcast. It's really dope. Then Secret Invasion. I have Captain America Theater of War. Captain America Theater of War is actually really cool because it centers Captain America in all the conflicts that the United States has been engaged in since World War II. And it shows like he's like this inspirational figure to the boys in uniform. Obviously, go come at the Secret Invasion. This book, they could have used it to like correct a lot of the Marvel like issues. Like they could have made the Hank Pym that beat his wife, they could have made him a Skrull, but they didn't. It's really annoying. Then I have Marvel 100th Anniversary, which is actually kind of cool because the concept is that it's Marvel storylines like 100 years in the future, or like in the future. It's like the future of different Marvel books. They have X-Men, Avengers, Spider-Man, where I think Wilson Fisk gets the Venom symbiote. It's really good. Then S.H.I.E.L.D. Secret History, which is basically a bunch of S.H.I.E.L.D. storylines featuring all the different S.H.I.E.L.D. characters, like the Cavalry. I can't remember her name. For some reason, I can't remember the Cavalry, the character known as the Cavalry from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't remember, you guys are gonna flame me for this, but whatever. And Mockingbird and such. And then we also have Spider-Man: One Moment in Time, which was them trying to justify the whole Spider-Man sells his marriage to Mephisto. Spider-Man: Ends of the Earth, where he gets that dope Sinister Six armor, which I'm gonna try and pull out that book so I can show you guys. Like, look at this. Actually, no. Look at that armor right there. It's really dope. I love that. Then I have a little bit of Jonathan Hickman's Avengers. Really, really cool how he sets all the stuff up. I have Jason Aaron's Thor, Who Holds the Hammer. That's like the debut, I think, of female Thor. Not impressed, to quote Superman. Then I have the Squadron Supreme from Marvel. This is around the Civil War II time, where the squadron is made up of multiverse people. So like squadron members from all the different worlds and that were destroyed by the Illuminati, and they went to war with the Illuminati. Then I have Civil War War Zones, which was like one of the best Civil War storylines ever. Basically, it's a what-if book that says what if the Civil War never ended, and it turns out that they get even more divided to the point where Iron Man, Tony Stark die. Iron Man and Captain America die at the end. I know, spoilers, whatever. Then I have the first volume of Donny Cates' Venom, which I absolutely love because Donny Cates is a fantastic Marvel writer. Speaking of Donny Cates, Absolute Carnage. Really dug that event. Then we have Avengers: The Final Host, Marvel's Avengers Endgame Prelude, which is basically like, it's actually the comic book adaptation of Infinity War. So I thought that was pretty cool. Then we got 4 volumes of Ta-Nehisi Coates' Captain America run. I gave this run a shot, and I'm just gonna keep it as an object lesson. Then I have my X-Men's section, which is, I separated it because I consider X-Men to be kind of like not connected to Marvel because they're not treated like they're connected to Marvel, so I just have the book separately. So anyway, I have the X-Men, Who Are the X-Men, which is basically like an anthology book that's like a collection of X-Men storylines from like the very first X-Men storyline. It has giant-sized X-Men in there. It has the first issue of New X-Men with Grant Morrison. It's got a lot of great books. Then I have, this is actually really cool, the Marvel Visionary book, which is basically like all of the Marvel storylines after a certain point that Chris Claremont wrote. And again, Chris Claremont is like the big X-Men scribe. I have the 14th volume of the Marvel Handbook. I don't know why that's there. Then X-Men Days of Future Past, New X-Men, the Ultimate Collection, and then this is like the first volume of Grant Morrison's new X-Men run. It even has a cover art by Ethan Van Sciver. It looks freaking dope. I have the Stark Unlimited patch I got from Marvel Limited. Then we have the Astonishing X-Men gifted by Whedon, and it's basically the first volume of his run. And what's kind of cool about it is that it has the DVD where you can where they actually voice the characters and stuff. It's really cool. Then House of M, which is one of the greatest Marvel events of all time, where Scarlet Witch goes no more mutants. X-Men Phoenix End Song. You guys know I reviewed this on the UAX episode, and you guys know it's not my favorite X-Men story. It's kind of weird where Jean Grey returns as the Phoenix, but it gets really odd. Then X-Men Love Lauren, and this is more about, this is a lot being a Colossus storyline, and it's like him dealing with like this trauma of losing Kitty and stuff. Then we have Marvel Universe versus Wolverine, which is a storyline where the Marvel characters become like zombies, except it's not Marvel zombies. Then X-Men Manifest Destiny, which is basically a collection of storylines of different X-Men. One of which was I covered was Nightcrawler fighting the devil, which I thought was pretty cool. Then I have the first volume of Kieran Gillen's complete X-Men run, which is basically them hanging out in California, so that's pretty dope. Then we have my favorite X-Men storyline of all time, Second Coming, because it's like Hope Summers destroying everyone. It's so cool. Then I have the book that has all the tie-ins for it, that they actually put a separate book together. I have and this is actually really cool, this is actually the hardcover special edition, the premium edition of a AVX. It doesn't have like all the tie-ins, but it does have like the entire event, pretty much entire main event. Then we have House of X Powers of 10 by Jonathan Hickman. Again, it's one of my favorite X-Men storylines. And then I have like the first couple of volumes from Dawn of X. I stopped there because I heard it wasn't that good. Then we have this really cool Iron Man box. This is actually the box that my Marvel Unlimited collector set came in, but I decided to keep it because it looked cool on display. I have some Black Widow golf balls, an Iron Man like chibi pin by, I think, Scotty Young. Then this really tiny Thing action figure. What's kind of funny is that when I started putting this office together, I discovered I had a bunch of superhero collectibles that I just didn't, that I had in like a bin from when I was a kid. So I was like, okay, I'm putting this up. Then I have some non-superhero graphic novels. I have, you guys know I'm a huge fan of Halo. So I have the graphic novel, I have the Helljumper book, I have Uprising, Bloodline, so all the Fall of Reach, most of the Halo 4 343 era. Then I have Collateral Damage, which is basically a short story in there. Tales of Slip Space, which is an anthology book. Then we have Lone Wolf, which was about Linda. The Official Spartan Field Manual, which is just a lore book. The Bible, if it were a comic book, that's what that is. Power Rangers Soul of the Dragon, which is actually a really cool book. If you're a Power Rangers fan, they do a lot of fan service in there. They also have Berserker by Keanu Reeves, another really dope book where he's like an immortal warrior, basically John Wick. I have the Mass Effect Omnibus Volume 1, which is like all the prequel comics for like Mass Effect. It's like, it essentially tells like what happened before Mass Effect 2 and also before Mass Effect 3. Then I have the first volume of Noctera by Scott Snyder. Really amazing book if you guys haven't checked that out. It's really cool. It's about like where there are monsters in the darkness and the earth is plunged into actually perpetual darkness. So you have to be like ferried. It's basically carried in a truck, and she's a truck driver that's trying to get people to safety. Then we have Undiscovered Country, which is also by Scott Snyder, which is basically part of the United States is like walled off, and then there's a signal on the other side of the wall, so a group has to move in and investigate. Then I have the Spawn Compendium, which is the first like 50 issues of Todd McFarlane's Spawn, the 90s series, and this thing is like, this is a massive tome, like really, like, look at that. It's like really big. But it's like all the artwork from the classic Spawn comics, and it's like, it's one of my favorite things to like break into and read occasionally when I don't want to read like Marvel or DC. Then I have the comic book Life of Alexander Hamilton. This is like a little bit of my history. This is Persepolis, which is a story about a comic book storyline about a little girl living in the Iranian regime. Then I have the United States Constitution, if it were a comic book. Then over here we have some more non-superhero comics. I have Serenity and Firefly by Joss Whedon. Then I have the Greek God comic books, where they adapted a lot of Greek myth storylines into comic books. Then I have the Guardian Project, which is basically, so Stan Lee collaborated on this. They took NHL teams and made them actual superheroes. So we have like the Lightning from Tampa Bay, the Avalanche from Colorado. So it's actually really cool. Then we have Xerxes by Frank Miller, and this is actually, I believe, the sequel to, oh no, this is the prequel to 300. So it's essentially like more of that battle scene from 301 that starts off the movie. Then I have some military comics, which are actually really cool. So I have, so Baghdad Inc. I can't understand what's said because it's actually in French, because I got this in Paris. So, but it's actually, the art's fantastic, so I'll just flip through it occasionally, even though I can't understand what's going on in the book. Which, what I might do is just Google Translate the entire thing and then just put like sticky notes over the people's speech. I'll figure out some ways to get that done. Then I have Dougie's War. It's this one's more in English, so it's like a graphics novel telling about a soldier coming back from the war and not like being all there. Then I have the complete collection of the Call of Duty Black Ops 4 Operator comics, which, if you don't know, Call of Duty published, or I think Activision published comics that are like an introduction to the characters of each of the operators, which is kind of funny because when you play as the different operators in Call of Duty, the gameplay does not change that much. So it's like, why have these separate characters? Then I have, and Max will actually like this, the Terminal Lance Omnibus, which is basically, so Terminal Lance was like a military comic strip, and this is like all of the Terminal Lance ones that was actually published in, I believe, the Marine Corps, like, what is it, the newspaper or something like that? You guys can tell me about that if you're in the Marines. Then I have something else that's really cool. This is Black Powder, Red Earth. It's a story about private military contractors, and it kind of goes into like the ambiguity of war. So it's like really in depth. It's written by guys that have actually been there and done that. So it's like really cool. There's it feels like you're actually on a special operations mission. Then I have my Marvel lore books, going back to superheroes. So I got, all right, I have the Marvel Vault, which is like the history of Marvel from its foundation to now, pretty much. It's got like it's got the Fantastic Four, the 70s, Luke Cage. That was a bad costume for Luke Cage. And then it's like the Silver Surfer. Then I have the magazines that come with the Marvel chess pieces. Like each one has like a different like lore thing that'll basically be like the introduction to who the character is, their special storylines, and then how to use them in a chess game and everything. It's actually really cool. For each character, I have a lot of them. Then I have the story of Marvel Studios. And what this is the behind-the-scenes storyline behind the entire MCU. And what's cool about them, too, is that when you take the 2 volumes out, first, it's 2 books. And then when you take one out, let's say, this one has, like, the gold embossed Iron Man Mark 1 suit. And this one has the Infinity Gauntlet. The Nano Gauntlet. It's not even the Infinity Gauntlet, it's the Nano Gauntlet. So yeah, so if you guys want to know the history of the MCU and how they made the different movies, what the creative decisions they made, is that book. Then I have one of the greatest art books of all time, Alex Ross's Marvelocity book. Alex Ross is like one of the best comic book artists of all time. He paints everything pretty much, and if you can see that, yeah, it's like killer Alex Ross style art, and it's like, wow. It's essentially like Kingdom Come and Marvel style art. Then I have the Marvel Encyclopedia, which is basically, and the DC one's the same thing. It's like all the different like characters. If you want to know like who, let's say, Jessica Jones is, they have an entire thing that's like, and all this is pretty up to date, up to like 20, I think 18 or 20. I'm not exactly sure when this book came out. Then we have the Marvel Studios Character Encyclopedia, which is basically the storyline of all these different Marvel characters. It's a character study of like all the different MCU characters up to Infinity War. So there's that. Next, we're getting to my bread and butter, the DC books. So first, I'm going to start here. So we have all the Frank Miller universe books, meaning all the books that take place in the same universe as like the Dark Knight Returns and such. So it's like, I have Batman Year One, Batman and Robin, The Boy Wonder, Batman Last Crusade, Dark Knight Returns again, or Strikes Again, Dark Knight Returns, The Master Race, and then The Golden Child. And then we get to my Elseworlds. I have these handy labels here, where I have the 20th anniversary graphic novel of Kingdom Come. I have Injustice. I have entirely of Injustice Year One, and then I have Injustice 2, the first volume. I have Superman Red Sun. All you Superman fans will appreciate that. I have the Flash Season 0 and Season 2.5 of Arrow, which is basically comic book like tie-ins for the Flash and Arrow TV shows. And then I have pre-New 52. So I have these basically organized by era. The reason why I didn't do that with Marvel is because Marvel's not really that clear. So first I have Crisis on Infinite Earths, of course. George Perez is my boy. Then we have The Death of Superman, then The Return of Superman. We have JLA New World Order by Grant Morrison, which is basically the first volume of his JLA run. I have it in the omnibus now. Then you have Justice League: Their Greatest Triumphs, which is basically a bunch of different Justice League books. It's like an anthology book of different Justice League comics. Like they have the first volume of the New 52. They have the first volume of Brad Meltzer's run. It's basically an anthology book. Then I have JLA Earth 2 by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely. They adapted this into Crisis on Two Earths, the animated movie. I also have Superman, Batman, Supergirl. I almost said Apocalypse because this was adapted into Supergirl, into the Superman, Batman, Apocalypse movie. I have the entire Batman Hush line because I'm trying to accumulate a Jim Lee collection because he's my favorite comic book artist of all time. Then I have Infinite Crisis. I have all of the actual crises, like all the ones that aren't just labeled Infinite Identity Crisis or something like that. So I got, yeah, Infinite Crisis is my favorite one so far. Brad Meltzer's Justice League of America run, which was the relaunch after Infinite Crisis when the League reformed and Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman came out of a vacation. Then I have the most controversial Wonder Woman book I have is Amazon's Attack, which is a book where they didn't put much thought into it, I detect. And then I have, on a more positive note, the first volume of Jeff Johns' Green Lantern run, and those of you that are big Green Lantern fans will know this intimately. Then I have the most confusing the most confusing storyline of all time, Final Crisis by Grant Morrison. Yes, this was the most confusing storyline. I still don't know what the hell happened in that book. Then we have my favorite Green Lantern event, Blackest Night, where all the Justice League members get rings, except for Superman, where he doesn't get the blue ring. Max and I are still pissed off about that. Then we have Volume 2 of Brightest Day. I actually picked this up and forgot that there was a second volume. I thought it was one book. It was just basically how the different characters that came back to life react. Now we're going to the new 52 shelf. So I start this by I have a Tate's Comics in South Florida is fantastic. You guys got to check that place out. Then I have this Black Widow belt buckle that came with the Avengers game that and that I just use up here because I don't use it. And then I have a Mjolnir keychain, then a picture of the Avengers, which is ironic because they're in the DC shelf. But anyway, new 52. This is when I got into comic books. So I have Flashpoint, Jla, I believe I have in trades all of Jeff Johns' Justice League run from that series. And then those of you that know me know I love Superman, Wonder Woman. I have the entire series in trade. All the volumes, they're kind of like scattered because I have the hardcovers in a separate section that we're getting to. I have a little bit of David Meredith Finch's Wonder Woman run. I have Tony Daniels' Deathstroke run where he gets younger but gets older at the end of it. It's really cool. I like him. Then I have a Deathstroke Legacy and Deathstroke Lobo Hunt. You guys can tell I'm a big Deathstroke fan. I have a couple of Teen Titans where they were in the Tron suits. Then I have Suicide Squad Kicked in the Teeth, which was the first book where I believe Harley Quinn was in the Suicide Squad. Then I have Scott Snyder and Jim Lee's Superman Unchained, where we have the dope Superman Unchained armor. Then I have the Superman Doom storyline, which is basically Superman encountering Doomsday for the first time in the new 52 and then becoming Doomsday. Justice League The Grid, which had the JLA Watchtower crashing to Earth, and that's why in Trinity War, and then I'll get to Trinity War in a second. That's why in Trinity War, the Watchtowers like crashed. Then I have Justice League of America #1. And this is the team that Argus puts together to counter the Justice League because apparently they're threatened by Superman and Wonder Woman being in a relationship. So we have part 1. Part 2 takes place during Forever Evil. So it was a little jarring at first. I'm like, the heck happened? Then we have Trinity War, which is the first comic book that I actually ever bought pretty much. It's either that or Siege, but I'm pretty sure that this is the first one that I got with the intention of collecting comic books. So yeah, so it's Trinity War. I know it's a kind of a controversial storyline, but I like it very much. Then I have Forever Evil, where the crime syndicate takes over Earth Prime and Lex Luthor has to assemble the Injustice League to counter them. Then I have Justice League and Justice League, which is the sequel to that, where they're building up to Darkseid coming in the Darkseid War, and then Lex Luthor joins the Justice League through blackmail, which is Lex Luthor. And this also has the Amazo virus storyline, which is very relevant because it's like a pandemic. So I'm like, okay. Then I have the entirety of the Darkseid War event. You guys know Darkseid War is my favorite DC Comics event of all time because of the Justice League receiving the powers of gods. I still think that Jeff Johns' Justice League run is up there with Grant Morrison's. And I said that a couple of times during my previous video that I did. Anyway, this is the tie-ins for Darkseid War, which is showing how the different Justice League members adjust to having these powers. Then we have the conclusion with Jason Fabok art. Fabok, my man. Then we have Brian Hitch and Daniel Enrique's JLA Power and Glory, which is basically the sun god Ra came to Earth and fights the Justice League. Put the picture back up. Then we have Superman, Wonder Woman, Dark Truth, where they kind of broke up, and then the final days of Superman, which was the death of the New 52 Superman. Then I have Rebirth. I have the entire Rebirth Justice League run that's actually labeled as Rebirth. Then we have some Wonder Woman. I have a couple of volumes of the Wonder Woman run, where they once again changed her origin story. I have 3 volumes, actually. It's just the 3 are on here. For, I believe, I only have one for Red Hood and the Outlaws. I have 3 volumes of Trinity, which is it's a book that follows Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman throughout their adventures. I have a couple of volumes of Green Arrow. I have a Batman Detective Comics, Rise of the Batman, where Batman creates like the Clock Tower team, which is like Tim Drake, Batwoman, Stephanie Brown, Spoiler, and Cassandra Cain, and Clayface, which I think is actually really cool. Then I have Dan Abnett's Aquaman run for the first, I skipped volume 4, but I have 4 volumes of that run. It's like one of the best Aquaman books ever. Then I have the 2 volumes of Trinity by Francis Manapul, a fantastic artist. Then I have, once again, Justice League versus the Suicide Squad, which was a fantastic event where the image for that desk pad came from. Back to this. I have Superman Reborn, where they merge the 2 Supermen together, which, think about it, it's kind of stupid. And then I have the main event for Dark Knight's Metal, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Then I have the Flash, the Button, which is basically the prequel to the book Doomsday Clock. And these are out of order, but I have to put it back. Then I have the first volume. I have a couple of volumes of Scott Snyder's Justice League run, which I love because he used pretty much the cartoon lineup of Justice Leaguers, which I loved. Then I have Doomsday Clock, which is one of my favorite Superman events, of all time. I have 3 Jokers. I actually have this also in the single issues. I have all of the I think they came out with 9 variant covers for this, which is all the Jokers and the Batman and the Bat family. So I got those. Wonder Woman: The Just War by G. Willow Wilson, which is basically her trying to train the God of War to be good. And then Wonder Woman: The 4 Horsemen, which I'm still working my way through. It's actually really good. Then we get to more of my commemorative edition books, which is more of it's basically my spillover section. So I have Superman Year 1 by Frank Miller and John Romita Jr. This is taking place in the Dark Knight Returns universe, which I very much enjoy that. Speaking of Superman stories I enjoy, Superman Secret Origin by Jeff Johns, and this is part of the inspiration for Man of Steel. So you guys know I love that. Then I have the commemorative editions, Wonder Woman 750 and Action Comics 1000, which include the first, this includes Action Comics #1, and this includes the very first Wonder Woman. And I can say I have them in a collection. Then I have this collection of Batman books, which is the key Batman books from throughout his existence, Detective 27, Batman 1, and such. I have Justice League Unwrapped, which is basically the first 2 volumes of the new 52 Justice League, except it's decolored and de-inked, so it's just Jim Lee's pencils. Let me show this off a little bit. So it's all the pencils for Jim Lee and Jeff Johns at Justice League, and I love it so much. I'm so glad I was able to get this. Then I have, this is actually a newer edition, the new 52 Commemorative Edition, and what this is there most of the #1s for all the different relaunches they did. There's Superman, Jonah Hex, there's Animal Man, there's Aquaman, there's Demon Knights, there's the Justice League Dark, Voodoo, Wonder Woman, and they have all the behind the scenes, how they came up with the new 52. Then we have this really, really, really cool book, a cool collection. That's the Earth 1 box set in this dope slipcase. These are the first 3 volumes for Superman Earth 1, Batman Earth 1, and Wonder Woman Earth 1. And Earth 1 was basically, the sun's coming in, is basically the ultimate version of DC, is what I mean. They have the first volume of Stan Lee Does DC Characters, which I actually enjoyed. I think it's really cool. I have 3 volumes of Smallville, which I love the Smallville comics because they actually bring in Batman and Wonder Woman. So there's Wonder Woman, and then they actually have the Flash in a costume. Then they have Superman in the costume. Then I have my favorite Superman story of all time, Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely's All-Star Superman. You guys know I'm a big fan of that book. Then I have the commemorative slipcase edition, which is like 4 different key Wonder Woman books, which is the Wonder Woman Gods and Mortals by George Perez, Down to Earth by Greg Rucka, The Circle by Gail Simone, and then Blood by Brian Azzarello. I like this one the most, The Circle, because it has the art by Terry Dodson, and it's fantastic. Terry Dodson's a great artist, particularly when he draws women. And then you guys know I'm a big fan of Grant Morrison's JLA book. It's one of the only books that I can actually understand of his. And it's really cool. A lot of the classic Justice League lineup that we saw in like the Snyder Cut or really like probably the cartoon, I would say, I don't know, is based on this thing because the Justice League lineup did not look like it does today. We have the first volume of John Byrne's Wonder Woman. I just love the way he draws her. I have Batman The Killing Joke, the collected edition. And then the most recent book I got, which is Endless Winter. I believe a fan actually took my suggestion and ordered this book. You will not be disappointed with this. Then we have, down here, more spillover, which is kind of a mix. I have Watchmen. I finally got an edition of Watchmen. I'm very happy about that. Then I have the second volume of Superman Grounded by J. Michael Straczynski. In this one, Pa Kent is killed and Superman has to deal with his identity and if he can save people. Then I have Captain America No Escape by Ed Brubaker. It's basically, again, Bucky Barnes is Captain America, so you guys know I love that. And it's just him dealing with Baron Zemo. Then I have from Dynamite Comics, Red Sonja, which is basically Wonder Woman in a metal bikini. Wonder Woman Guts, which is volume 2 of Brian Azzarello's Wonder Woman run. I have volume 1 in that thing, so I just wanted to get volume 2. Then I have a couple of volumes of Dwayne McDuffie's Justice League run, which is like the Injustice League, and Sanctuary is one where the Suicide Squad's been kidnapping villains and putting them on a prison planet. Then we have Wonder Woman Ends of the Earth by Gail Simone and Aaron Lopresti. This is basically Wonder Woman embarking on a quest, teaming up with heroes of old, which I love. We have Injustice Year 4, where the Greek gods get involved. And you guys know I love the conflict between the Greek gods and the Justice League. And then I have all 3 volumes of the DC Universe Online comic book storylines. One of my favorite things to read. Then I have some spillover stuff. Then I have some DC books, DC lore books. So I have The Anatomy of a Metahuman, which is basically Batman providing like a scientific explanation behind the Justice League. I have the Golden Age of DC Comics, which is basically like all the covers from the Golden Age of comics. It's like the history. Then I have a visual history of Batman, which is like, it's basically, It's basically a history of Batman, and then also shows like what was going on around the time of these different books. I have the newer and then older version of the DC comics, A Visual History, which actually gave me some dope art prints that are hanging on my wall. DC Comics Encyclopedia, which is basically the same as Marvel, but for DC. I'm going to show you the updated version. Then I got Batman 100 Greatest Moments for Batman. It's like the top 100 Batman moments from the comics. Then I have the Alex Ross DC book. I'm going to pull this one out. It's got this great Wonder Woman wraparound cover. Then we have, it's all Alex Ross art, which I would hazard a guess that, so he's number 2 to me just because I like the more dynamic and like unrealistic art of Jim Lee more, but he's like my number 2 comic book artist of all time. Then we have speaking of Jim Lee, the DC Comics art of Jim Lee, which is like his art book from when he started at DC, which will have like his Batman book, which is like all the behind the scenes of him doing Hush, also Batman and Robin, Superman for Tomorrow, I think was that book, Supergirl, his art behind the Wonder Woman book, because he did the Wonder Woman book with Stan Lee when Stan Lee did his thing. Green Lantern, Infinite Crisis, his time on Wildcats, in other words, his time at Image, and his time back at DC, and then it has a little storyline at the end. It talks about him designing the DC logo that plays in the beginning of the movies, the old one. Then it has like the gallery, and then it actually has a Legion of Superheroes storyline. I'm trying to get to the back of the book so I can show you, where they like go to the real world, and then they meet Jim Lee and like Paul Levitz, and you can see like the Superman action figure on there, Batman. It's really cool. Really great art book, particularly if you're a fan of comic book art and Jim Lee. Next, I have the DC Encyclopedia, the new edition. And this one is like, it's pretty much the characters of DC. And this is coming from the Rebirth era to now. So the art's been updated and everything. It includes like the death metal characters, the Batman Who Laughs and such. It includes like, let's see, who else does it include? It includes the Watchmen characters and a little more explanation because they played a role in Doomsday Clock. So it's got a little more information than the other one. I still keep the other one because I like it. It's like my DC book for like a long time. And it also did the new 52. Pull that into. Then I have the Arkham lore book, which is like the lore for all the Arkham games up to Arkham Knight. Then I have the Justice League history, which is like the history of the end continuity history of the Justice League from Golden Age to, or like I think it was Silver Age when the League came out, but to now, to like Rebirth. And then I have those statues for Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and the Joker. Also came with these lore books, like the one for Superman and Wonder Woman talks about them individually, and then it talks about like specific comic book covers, and then it actually talks about their time in a relationship. And the new 52, I'm getting to that point here, see right there. Batman and the Joker has them talking about like the shared history of Batman and the Joker. Then I have the character guide for DC Comics. It's basically from Rebirth era. It's like it's another character book on DC. Then over here, I have my single issues, all my floppies. I have I have the beginning of the new 52 Superman books. I have a lot of the issues. Tate's didn't have all of them, so I couldn't get all of them, but that's pretty much what these are. Then I have a reprint of the Spider-Man coming back in the black suit. I have a couple of amalgam comics, which is like Amazon, Bat Thing. That's really what's the word? That's really original, guys. The Exciting X-Patrol, Bruce Wayne, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I think is kind of weird how they separated Batman and Bruce Wayne and then made him basically Nick Fury. Then I have Generation Hex. And then I have JLX, which is Justice League and the X-Men combined. Magneto and his Magnetic Men. Assassins. Wonder Woman and Punisher. JLX again. The X Patrol, which is basically Doom Patrol. Then I have over here the Marvel Hyperion run, which I love because he's basically Superman, so it's more Superman. And then I have all the first volume of Mark Millar's Ultimates, which is basically the Ultimate Avengers. I have Jim Lee's Jim Lee's X-Men #1, which is all of the covers that come together in a poster. I'll actually see if I can put that together right here. So, I actually have 2 covers for that. See, it comes together and it makes like one big image, pun intended. Then I have another Hyperion #1. Actually, I think that's supposed to go there. I have Wonder Girl, Yara Flor, her first issue of Berserker. I have the Brian Michael Bendis Justice League premiere run. I only got it because of the Snyder cut, like variant covers, so I wanted to get that. Then I got the first issue of Dark Knight Returns to be the Master Race, signed by Kevin Eastman, the guy who invented Ninja Turtles. Infinite Frontier #1. A couple of Marvel books that Marvel Unlimited sent me, like some Iron Man books. Then I have Future State Wonder Woman. Then I have, so I mentioned I have all of the like variant covers for 3 Jokers, which is like all the other different versions of the Joker they did. Then it has like the Bat Family. I'm trying to find a Bat family member. There's Batgirl, Barbara Gordon. She's cute. And then here's Red Hood. Basically everyone affected by the Joker. Then I have the first issue of Endless Winter. Then I have the entire run of Death Metal in order. All the entire event of Death Metal in one in single issues. I plan on getting it in full, and then it's going to be like, and then it's organized according to like when they were released. Then I have some classic DC books. I got one of those grab bag things. So I have like Flash from 1988, Guy Gardner Warrior, which was very weird, Legion Final Night, Orion, which is Louise Simonson, Justice League, I guess, and then Detective Chimp and the Helmet of Fate, the Jla by, I don't know who this is, but this is pretty much a Justice League of America book, The Trials of Shazam, Future's End, Harley Quinn, Rebirth, Batman, All-Star Batman by Scott Snyder, then Titans. Then I have some classic Avengers books. I have Avengers 193 from 1979. I have Iron Man when he's in the Silver Centurion from, I'm trying to find the actual date, 1985. And I have Avengers with Black Widow from 95. I have two of those. Then I have, from the page of Superman, I have Showcase 96, which is Steel and Guy Gardner Warrior. Fantastic Four, The Initiative. The free comic book day for Secret Wars, the remake, when Hickman did that. I have Marvel's Most Wanted Thunderbolts. Star Wars, The Republic, which this one actually came with some action figures. I got a Clone Trooper, and I believe I actually think I got a couple of Clone Troopers in that one, and it gave me that. Then I got this one again, which is which came with action figures. Then we have this one again, came with action figures, Heir to the Empire comic. Then I have this one actually came with a classic Optimus Prime G1. It was like the first Transformers comic. Call of Duty, this came with the collector's edition for Black Ops, I think 4, I think. Solar Flare is actually a really cool independent comic I picked up and had signed at a Comic-Con, which is basically like a solar flare erupts and takes out all the power, so everyone like goes nuts. So anyway, that was the room tour. Actually, no, wait, hang on a second. I actually have more stuff. So I actually have, this is the first art wall I have, which we got like the print for the Arkham Knight Batmobile. I have new 52 Superman. I'm trying to make sure the camera's angled correctly. Right there. I have the Punisher. I got a couple of these prints at Comic-Cons. I have this really cool, if you guys haven't known, go to Hobby Lobby. They have a lot of great comic book stuff on there. So it's like Superman ripping the shirt. Case in point, they also have J for my initial. I have a couple of Halo posters. I have this print came with the DC like history book. Then I also have the Superman book. I think the Batman one has one too, or something like that. But anyway, the Jim Lee. This came with the Jim Lee book. Then over there we have this print of the cover of Dark Reign New Avengers. 3 more prints for Batman Arkham Knight. Over here on this wall, I have Superman, Batman, Red Hood, and Master Chief. The Bat. And then over here, I have signed prints from Adam Baldwin, who's played like many characters, and then Jennifer Hale, who's done many characters, Marvel and DC included. So that was my comic book room, and that's basically where I spend most of my time. And also, I brought you to my other room. I actually have a game room where I have like all my movies, and I have all my Xbox games. So I'm gonna give you a quick walkthrough of that too. So first off, here we have an Winnipeg Jets action figure. I have an airsoft helmet, which has a replica 4-tube night vision goggles. I have a Call of Duty World War I statue that came with the edition. Marcus Phoenix statue from Gears 3 came with the edition. Assassin's Creed Black Flag statue came with the edition. I have the space shuttle. I have a Phoenix and some 50 caliber shells in the background. I have a couple of jets. I have a F-16, a C-130, aircraft carrier, the Intrepid. And then I have a Predator drone. I have a Warhammer Rhino tank. I have a hockey puck there. I have an F-22 Raptor. I have a St. Michael the Archangel statue. Pray for us. Then I have a New Jersey Devil character holding up the Stanley Cup. Then I have this sword letter opener I got in Paris. And then I have all my Xbox 360 and Xbox One games. I'll go through those more in a second. I have this Medal of Honor Warfighter action figure. I have some Warhammer guys I built and painted. Some Lego Mandalorians. Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator. That actually is not bad of an action figure. I have this replica cannon, which I really like. Again, I'll do a slower walkthrough of my Xbox games, which we may start at a Comic League gaming channel. So let me know what you guys think. Just going through there real quick. Destiny 2, another Star Wars guy. I have another guy that have this replica rifle right here. It's actually really cool. It's baseball. Then I have these Batman chess pieces. So I'm going to start actually here. So I have Soap from Modern Warfare 2, Braves Bat, Marine Corps Sniper action figure, Predator, a Air Force Pararescueman, Navy SEAL, and I think that's another Air Force Pararescueman from McFarlane Toys. I have a model Orc helicopter and a model Sherman tank, I think. Then I have these Batman chess pieces, which are like really cool. They're also done by Eagle Moss Hero Collector, and I have the subscription where every month they send you 2 pieces. I'm starting with heroes on this side. We've got Black Canary, Katana, Gordon. Then it goes to the villains. We have Joker, Harley Quinn, Two-Face, Ra's al Ghul, or I say Roz, but whatever. The Riddler, Penguin. I love this Mr. Freeze model. Poison Ivy, Scarecrow, Hush, and Bane. I have some coins up there too. Make sure, okay. And then here we have the RCXD from Call of Duty Black Ops 1. Everything's a little dusty. We have Arbiter, his foot came off, I have to fix that. This Abrams tank model, this Chevy Camaro, another Chevy Camaro, FAU Bear, Chevy Camaro, this Call of Duty World War II statue that came with the World War II game, a dragon, and a Gwinnett Braves bobblehead. We have this Corvette, or is it a Corvette? Let me see, what kind of car is this? Yeah, it's a Corvette. I was right. Thank you. Kylo Ren die-cast, dragon, some books. And over here we have my Halo shelf. So over here we have some Halo statues. Halo statue from Halo 5, the Legendary Edition. Halo Reach Legendary Edition statue. Spartan Locke, another Master Chief. Then I have some sci-fi books with some Halo action figures on there. I got a Brute, Tartarus. I have some hockey stuff and interspersed. The Halo novels, Brute Chieftain. Then I have some Spartans from Halo Reach, some Halo 4 Spartans, a machine gun that I have to glue the shield back on, and Covenant Ghost, Covenant Missile Turret. Then this is like my Halo 1 shelf. So first I have some Star Trek books, Star Wars notebooks, Call of Duty Field Manual, Gears Field Manual, World Atlas of Coffee, really interesting stuff. Then we have like Spartan Red Team Leader, which is actually Jerome, Cortana from Halo 4. And then we get into more of like the Halo 3 action figures. And this Cortana one actually lights up with her base. Silver Master Chief, Halo 4 in the cryotube, Blue Team. And it's like the evolution of, I arranged it so it's like the evolution of Chief's armor, 4, 5, Mark 6. And then the upgraded Mark 6. And then the Halo Infinite Chief, which I love his armor design. We have more Halo 3 action figures. Halo 3 ODST guys with the drop pod in the background. Then we get to Halo Reach. So first, yes, this is a Master Chief Funko Pop I got when I went to Outpost Discovery, which was the Halo convention that was in 2019. And it is signed by the Master Chief and Cortana themselves. Red Spartan statue. I have this Master Chief helmet also signed by Steve Downes and Jen Taylor. Halo Reach Spartans. Right there. I as you can tell, I'm a big Halo fan. These are all McFarlane Toys action figures, which I love. Some Covenant guys. Then I have some Star Trek ships. G1 Optimus Prime, Prometheans, Captain Kirk, and a Star Trek Enterprise ship. These are the chess pieces that I was talking about with the Marvel chess pieces here, all the villains first. I don't have a chessboard for DC. That's why the DC ones are on my shelf right now. Black Panther, all the classic heroes. Scarlet Witch, Black Widow, Hawkeye. Anyway, so that's my game room. One more thing I wanted to mention is I actually have another shelf in my room that has some pretty awesome stuff. So going over here, we have a Navy football helmet. I love that. A Master Chief Halo Infinite statue that has the Captain America shield. Looks like he's carrying it. Then I have another Funko Pop, also signed by Steve Downes, Jen Taylor. I have the Captain America statue from the Avengers game. I'm trying to get a good angle. I have the Energy Sword replica signed by the Chief and Cortana. Hal Jordan Green Lantern from the Green Lantern movie. The action figure's cool, the movie's not. Aquaman from Justice League statue. New 52 Superman statue, well, action figure. Iron Man statue. Classic USS Enterprise. And the Batman 66 Batmobile. Anyway, guys, that's the room. This is where I make the magic and make all the great content for you guys to enjoy. And if you guys have anything else you want any other video suggestions you want, just drop them in the comments and I'll be sure to get to them. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video and we will see you in the next one. All right, stay heroic, everyone. Bye-bye.